Hey guys, in this story time, I'm gonna be talking about my childhood friend that I had, and her haunted house. Um, it was probably the first experience I had with like an actual like haunted house. Um, I never really dealt with like the paranormal before. Um, I kind of was just like, I mean, I dealt with like that doll, my life-size doll that was really creepy, but I never dealt with like an actual like haunted house. Um, I never really dealt with like a haunted house before, and the so what happened was I was always at her house, like always, and um, like I was always at her house. I was always like hanging out with her, and then there was this one time. Her name was Jessica, by the way. There was this one time when she, like, it was me and another friend. I don't remember who she was, though. Horrible person. Um, and um, we were at her house, and she was like, "Oh, by the way, my house is haunted." And I was like, "Whatever." I'm like, "You're lying." I'm like, "It's not haunted." And she was like, "Yeah, it is. Like, we have ghosts." And I was like, "What?" And so I was like, man, I still didn't believe it. I was like, whatever, like, you're just trying to scare us, whatever. And so I was like, prove it. Because, like, I was like, I want to know. Like, if you're freaking telling me that, like, there's this ghost here, like, I want to know. And I was, like, older. I was, like, probably 10, 11. No, it was, like, probably older than that, like, 11. I don't remember how old I was, though. And so I was like, okay, fine, prove it. So she told us a story about how, like, her, like, someone died in this house, like, died at her house, like, a previous, like, person, I don't know, like, someone died in the house. And that, like, she would see orbs, and that, like, her, like, doors would, like, open and, typical stuff. Like, doors would open and close, and like lights would turn on and off, and like just like really weird typical stuff that happens with like paranormal stuff, right? And I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I still didn't believe it because I was like, you know what, whatever. So then she was like, okay, fine. She was like, what, fine. She's like, you guys will stay the night, and I guarantee you something's gonna happen. I'm like, okay. So then we both stayed the night. I asked like my parents, and of course they were like, yeah, whatever. So I stayed the night with them, and we, hung out. We watched movies. Like, we had fun. Like, we weren't just like ghost hunting all night or something. But her parents were out of town, or they weren't out of town. Were they? They were somewhere. They weren't home, and we were like just hanging out in a room. And she's like, okay, so she's like, normally, I don't remember what time it was, but I know it was at night. And she's like, okay, so normally around this time, like, starts happening. She's like, stuff happens during the day too, but like, stuff happens at night, like, more so, obviously. So she was like, okay, so she's like, so, um, and this is a true story, okay, guys? Like, I'm not fabricating this. This is exactly how I remember it when I was younger, and I remember. So we go and okay, so I'm gonna open my door, and I guarantee you, she said like at a certain time, like her her parents' door will like open and close like by itself, like at a certain time, and so I was like, okay, okay. whatever. So we were like sitting by her door, like just watching, um, just like, watching the door. And, we were just watching and watching, and we're like, I was getting tired. I was like, nothing's happening. Like, you're lying. So you told you were lying. And then all of a sudden, like, okay, granted, no one's home. Okay, I'm just pointing that out. Literally, no one was home. She didn't have, like, any animals. Like, there was nobody there. Like, her parents weren't there. It was literally just the three of us. And so we're sitting there and we're watching, and, like, all of a sudden you just see, like, her parents' door was, like, cracked, and it just, like, started opening, like, really slowly. And I know what you guys are saying, well, maybe it was a vent that, like, blew the door open because it was, like, the air wasn't even on. Like, the heater wasn't on, the air wasn't on. Like, there was literally nothing on that could have blew that door open randomly. And it wasn't, like, it would be, like, fast. It was, like, it would open, like, really slow, it would stop, and then it would start opening again, like, faster, and then, like, it would just, and then eventually just, like, open, like, all the way. And of course, like, no one's home, so then I start freaking out because I'm like, okay, like, that was weird. And so then, like, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go, like, lay down in the bed now. And I got up and I, like, went to the bed and I was, like, all, like, bunched up, like, that was really creepy. And then, like, she was like, see, she's like, I told you, like, stuff happens. And then, like, after that, like, we started hearing, like, noises downstairs. And, like I said, no one was home. So, like, there was, like, no explanation for why, like, we were hearing noises. And so, like, we were hearing, like, people talking and then, like, all this other stuff. And we checked, like, we would go downstairs and make sure, like, she would call her parents and, like, they would be like, no, like, we're not home. And so, like, she would, like, so there was no reason for, like, there to be noise. And so then eventually, like, we closed the door, and then we're just sitting there, and we're like, yeah, that's kind of weird, like, we all started kind of freaking out. And then we heard, like, her parents' door, like, slam shut. And we were like, because at the time we didn't close it, like, we just left it open. And then we heard it slam shut, and we were like, okay, well, maybe, like, they came home or something. And then we opened the door, and her parents' door was, like, closed, like, shut. And so she called her parents again, and they were like, no, like, we're still not home. Like, we'll probably be home, like, next couple hours, but we're, like, because I think they went out to, like, a concert or something, like, but we're not home. And so she was like, okay, fine, whatever. So our parents said they were still not home. No one was there. And then we, like, open the door, and we, like, open it. We sit there by the door again. And we, like, just watching it, we're like, oh, okay. Because it was shut. We actually went out, we checked the door, and it was, like, shut. Like, it wasn't like it was still cracked open. Like, you have to turn the handle to open it. It wasn't like you could just, like, push it and then, like, it would open. So we were sitting on the floor, and we were watching it, and we started to see, like, we were flashing a flashlight by the door, and we could see, like, the door handle, like, start to kind of, like, turn, like, go like that. We were like, oh, hell. And then it, like, opens. It, like, turns all the way, and then, like, the door starts opening. And her parents' room was creepy because it was, like, pitch black because, like, they weren't home, so, like, it was dark as hell in their room. Like, it was just pitch black. And my friend, she was, like, shining the light, like, towards her parents' room, and we're like just looking, and we see, like, this shadow run past, and we're like, nah, no, this is fake, this is rigged, like, you're just doing this shit to scare us. And then, like, she's like, no, seriously, this is the stuff that happens all the time. And I'm like, oh my god. So, like, I was freaking out, and then the door, like, it was, like, open, but, like, it wasn't all the fully open, and then it just, like, opens, like, it just, like, slams open. We're like, oh my god. So then we run into the room, and we, like, slam the door, and we're all like huddled up on the bed because like I mean my friend, she was used to it, but she still like got scared. So like we were like, okay, like what are we gonna do now? So then like we were just sitting on the bed, and we and granted all the lights are off in the house. Okay, so we're the only light on in the house is like um it was in her room. Like all the other lights are shut off. And so we see this like it wasn't like a bright light. It was kind of like muted, but you could still tell that there was light, and it was like coming from underneath the door. And we're like, "Oh, maybe your like parents like came home like, and they turned on the light." And she's like, "Yeah, but like I would have heard them come up the stairs because she had stairs, so like you would have been able to hear them like come home. You would have heard the front door because it was quiet. Like you could have heard it." And she's like, "Look, I'll call one more time and just make sure and just see if they just came home. We just didn't hear." And so she was like, "Okay." So she calls them and again, and they're like, "No, we're literally not home. Like, stop calling." Her parents started getting mad because she was like, "Stop calling us." So they still weren't home. And so we were like, okay, then what is that light underneath the door? Because like when you you have the door and like if there's a light on, you can see like if it's dark in your room or you have lights off or whatever, you can see like the light coming through like the crack of the door or whatever, and mostly underneath the door. So that's basically what was happening. And so like my friend's like, I'll go open the door and see like if the hallway light went on, because if it's a ghost, like it's gonna turn on the light if it wants to, whatever. So she goes near the door, and she gets up, and me and our other friend are like sitting on the bed like, oh, and so we were freaking out, and like she goes and she gets up and she goes and she walks towards her door, and she puts her hand on the door to like turn the handle, and it goes pitch black, and we're like, that was weird. So it goes like pitch black. Like she didn't open the door, but you could tell that like the light that was coming through, like underneath the door, like just went away. It just disappeared. And we were like, dude, the light went off. And then she like backed up and she looked and she was like, that's really weird. So then she came back over and she's like, um, she's like, here, give me the flashlight and I'll go check, whatever. So we like give her the flashlight, and then she turns on the flashlight, and then she opens the door, and she's like, and me and our other friend, we're just like huddled up on the bed, so we can't really see exactly like what she's saying. And she's like shining the light, she's like saying, hello, like, is anyone here? And she like we didn't know what she was saying, and like she literally like she froze, and like she dropped the flashlight and she ran back to the bed and like we all got under the covers, and we were like, what did you see? And she didn't even shut the door. So we were like freaking out because like none of us wanted to get out from under the covers to go shut the door, because we were all freaking out because our friend, like, she was like shaking. She's like, oh my gosh, like seriously. She's like, she couldn't even tell us what she saw. Like she was so scared. And like, granted, it's pitch black out there, and I mean our light's on, but it's pitch black. And so like so then like we're under the covers, and then all of a sudden her light goes out. Like her light that was in her room goes out. So it's literally pitch black. And at this point, I'm already afraid of the dark. So like I'm at like full freak out mode. And so then I look at so then we're like, oh my god, like we're all freaking out. And then we see like that, but the door's open. So we see like, we're looking through the covers. Well, we could see like a ball like about that big, and it's just bright as hell. Like, bright as hell. It was like whitish, yellowish, and we were like, what in the hell is that? And we look, we like take the covers off and we're looking, and it's a freaking orb. We're like, what the hell? What kind of orb is this? But it was weird because it was glowing, and it was like, it was just like floating around. There was no light, so this was like the only light we could see. And we're like, I mean, we didn't feel like a negative presence with it, because I mean, we felt, I mean, I don't know, we like were kind of freaked out because it's a freaking orb, like what the hell, but it's a ball of light that's coming towards us, so obviously we're still kind of like weary, but we didn't get like a negative vibe from it. And so we're just like looking at it, and then it's just like an orb just floating there, doing nothing. Her light's still off, and we're just like looking at it, and then my friend, like, she starts talking to it, and she's like, obviously an orb is still like a spirit, so she's like talking to it and stuff like that, and the orb's just kind of like floating around, doing this thing. And then all of a sudden, like, the orb just like it stops, and then it just like shoots up, because she had like one of those like windows, like those sun type window. I don't know what they're called, but those like ones that look like that. So it went straight up there, and we looked at it. We all like turned our head, we looked, and we're like, that was weird. And we looked at each other, and we looked back at like the door, and there was like this thing just like standing there. Had like these red beady eyes just like staring, and it looked like a fucking beast or something. I have no idea what it was. But it was like it just looked like a demon or something. It was really creepy. We're like, oh, we just started screaming. And then my friend, like, she like had like flashlights all over her room. Like, all over her room. I was like, girl, why do you have so many flashlights? And she's like, this is why. Well, it was before. But like, I didn't know before why she had so many flashlights. I'm like, why do you have so many flashlights? And she's like, just cause. But then I kind of understood, so she like grabbed one, like she kept one like under her pillow, we didn't know about it, and so she grabbed it and she flashed it like towards the thing that was standing there, and it like disappeared. Like, it was just standing there. She flashed the light and it just like disappeared. And then she got up and she like slammed her door, she locked it, and then she turned her light back on, and we were just like all freaking out. We were just like, yeah, how about no? So then she called her mom again, and she's like, Mom, like, how much longer are you gonna be? She's like, we'll probably not be home for another couple hours. So we were like, oh. So we were freaking out, and like, you know what, forget it, we're going to my house. So like, I was like, let's just go. Like, this is like, it was like freaking everybody out like way too much. And we were just like, look, let's just go to my house. Like, I can't be dealing with that. So we start getting our stuff ready, and she like texts her mom, and she's like, I'll be at Ava's house. She was literally right next door. Like, we were next door neighbors. So we're gonna go over to Ava's. And Mom's like, okay, that's fine. So we start getting our stuff together, and we start hearing like just, I don't know, like weird noises like outside her room. And we were like, okay, we need to go. Like, we need to get up out of here. So then we like get this, like, we get our stuff. She gets her house keys, because still gotta lock up the house, And so we're like leaving the room, and she like goes to turn on the hallway light, and it's not working. And she's like, it's literally not turning on. She's like, oh, great. So then we have to, like, she gets the flashlight, and she closes her door, and like everything, and then she like we start to walk downstairs, and she checks her mom's, like she flashes the light towards her mom's room. The door's like wide open, so she goes and she like closes it, and then we start like walking downstairs, and we see like this shadow like run past us, and we're like, nope. So we all just freaked out. We were like done with it, and we just like ran down the stairs. We like ran like outside, and then she like me and our other friend were like, we were running, and we looked back, and like we're like, where's Jessica? And like she was locking her door. I'm like, girl, like there's a burglar in there. What the hell are you gonna do? Run outside and lock the door? Like, nah. So she like was running with us, and then we like ended up going back to my house, and like we were just like freaking out. I was like, nope. Nope. So I don't think I really ever spent the night over there again. I think she mostly stayed over at my house because that just like really scared the crap out of me. So yeah. But yeah, I mean I know a lot of people don't believe in the paranormal, and I mean I do because I've had experiences. But you know, you guys can take what what you want, and if you believe it, you believe it. If you don't, I understand. It's kind of like vague because it happened so long ago that it's like kind of hard for me to like remember every detail. But yeah, so that happened, and it was really freaky. So I hope you guys enjoyed this this story time. And if you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.